Welcome back to the Cosas Verdes show, where we cover Bitcoin and altcoin price action. And we're gonna not waste too much time here. Most of you know what we do when we start off these live streams here is we cover Bitcoin first. So we're gonna dive straight into Bitcoin. I'm not gonna give you much preface, and then roughly halfway through we'll take some Q&A questions. So let's dive into the charts. First thing I want to point out on current price action, I'm going to start off with the daily chart here. We're kind of in a limbo land. However, there is some decent hope for a significant pop above 32K here. It's possible. It is possible. However, the conditions for making that probable have not been met, but the ingredients are beginning to brew. So we don't have all the ingredients to bake this, pump cake, but we're getting more of them. And the first thing I wanted to point out is I wish there wasn't so much lag on the questions or the text over there, but wish I could ask a question in real time and have somebody answer. As we do on Discord, where somebody can just answer on their microphone or whatever. But what are we seeing here? That's one of the key things that I look for before I say, hey, Bitcoin has permission to bounce. We're looking at a potential higher low. And let me zoom way in here. And it's important to know why this is still potential. What is it about this? So you see how all these have little junctures, right? So for example, as I do the path tool up here, this is one well, if it's going to let me. Oh, it won't let me do it. Well, one juncture, two juncture, three juncture, 4, 5, 6, 7. That might be 8, 9, 10, 11. So each of those is one day, right? And this day has not closed, right? Therefore, this juncture can move around until 8 p.m. New York time. So see how it's almost like your elbow, like if you're doing a robot dance or whatever, right? So he's in a robot dance limbo. Hopefully y'all like my analogies. This is not confirmed as a higher low yet. So just be very careful whenever you're trying to, especially if you're newer to the charts or maybe, maybe been looking at charts for a year. But this is one thing that I probably didn't realize at least a year deep into playing with charts. This is one thing I overlooked. This can move, so make sure you're focusing on that. Therefore, it is sort of kind of in limbo. And if you try to back test that, okay, is it maybe out of the last 9 times something like this has happened, maybe 9 times out of 10 it has gone up. Therefore, it's not technically in limbo if you do it from a statistical basis. Well, if you look at, let's see here, where is it? Up here. Here's a good example, right? Here, back in 14th and 15th of January, it did roughly the same thing. You had a low, deep into the red zone. You got straight above the EMA. So you see, actually, let me zoom into this. So you had a deep move to the downside. It immediately went above. So see that white line? It immediately went above the EMA instead of what's more common is this. This is way more common after a move down. You usually get rejected by the EMA, make a higher low, rejected, a higher low, then get above. Like this little area here is much more common. However, sometimes it does this. It goes straight above, bounces up, and then works its way up. Sort of almost like this. Sometimes that happens, but it's not always guaranteed. So the deeper you go, the less likely that this is going to happen. Does that make sense? So you see how it jumped straight above and kept climbing? Well, the deeper into the red zone, the less likely of that to happen that you're going to get. All right. Unless it's an extreme, then actually if you go super deep in, like coronavirus, then you actually have more of a chance. So in this middle of the red is like the worst chances you have of it completely just going like this, right? So it is roughly right in the middle, right here. And over here, it's also right in the middle. So you have slightly less of a chance. But what could happen is you jump. So the very last time that this happened, it did jump above and it broke all the way down, right? And I would assume because the RSI is roughly in the same area and it's behaving roughly the same way, I would bet that if I went to price and I put a fractal from this section to this section, it would align fairly closely. So watch. So that was the 11th of January to the 22nd of January. Something like this effect. And of course, the second part of the move down, that what you got right here, that has not happened yet. I'm more focusing, we would be equivalent of right here, right? If something similar were to happen. And I'm just guessing that this would align roughly the same way. Take a look at that. Does it get the wick all the way correct? No, it doesn't. And I don't think the fractals actually take the wick, so you can't see any wick that would have been there anyway, the candle bodies. But the candle bodies are pretty dang similar. See that? So this would be taking stuff down all the way to 24K or slightly lower with a wick. So that would actually be hitting this origin line here at 22.8 if something similar were to happen. And this is the very, very last time that you got a similar signature on the RSI. And you can also note that in this fractal, it does float up and out of this channel here. So you have to consider this as one possibility. However, if this can, and remember the last time this happened, it actually bounced twice. And it was on this juncture right here that it actually went bam. It fell down, right? So we could keep going sideways for a little bit longer. However, if price can keep going sideways and this doesn't break down, it probably will start charging up. And the here, let me actually stop using the highlighter. If price can continue going sideways, Bitcoin has a chance of doing this. So this would be the EMA. And then this would be the RSI here. It has a chance to do that. And then typically, if that happens, it'll then break down, make a higher low in price and a macro, like what I call a macro RSI higher high, and do something to that effect. As it enters, as it gets between this red and white line, it typically wants to come back down, assuming it got that deep. But this would be something, I mean, that would probably be 36, 35, that would be over 35K. If something like that were to happen, it would go up significantly. And so let's take a look at if there's anything somewhere around 35, 36K. The weekly 10 over those days would be coming down and would be right at 35, 36K. So that would be so that'd be breaking up and out of this trading channel and then testing roughly the that would be roughly testing the weekly 10 EMA, which is still, let me put on my big face here. That's still bearish. Going up to the weekly 10 when price is below it and bumping your head on it after a powerful move to just test the weekly 10, that's still bearish. There's nothing bullish about it. What's bullish is when you close weekly candles above the weekly 10. But Bitcoin is so far from doing that, and I would guess it might not happen for another 8 months. Like there might not be a weekly candle closing above that weekly 10 for quite a while. I mean, late 2022, early 2023. It might be a long, long time. I might be wrong, but I would guess that it's going to be months and months. So unit of measurement easiest to count is not days or weeks. It would probably be easiest to count in months. For when you get a weekly closure over the weekly 10, right? So it's still not super bullish in the grand scheme of things. Let me put myself back over here. All right, let me get rid of some of these squiggly lines. Now, is the stock market also in? Actually, let's look at the. Let's go to the 1 hour chart. So it's a little in limbo, right? And we can't really tell what's going to happen on the daily quite yet. I don't feel an edge on that chart at all. And I would assume that, actually, let me go back to the day. I would assume that the Stokes are kind of wiggling around as well on the daily. Yeah, so you see how the Stokes are wiggling around? Usually when you feel that things are uncertain, the Stokes kind of tell you things are uncertain as well. They're wiggling around. And I don't feel that I can find an edge on the daily chart. Let's go to the 4 hour chart. Let's look at the Stokes first. Are the Stokes wiggling around? Yeah, they are. Is the 4 hour RSI at an exact point where it could go either way? Absolutely. It went deep into the red zone. It's finally bumping its head here. It's very common that when you get a powerful move up, that's when you make what I call a macro higher low on the RSI, and it has to come up, and that would be a higher low in price. But also, when you get into this area, this zone right here, this is what I call the golden pocket. But typically, getting to the golden pocket on a screamer like this, on RSI, you typically come down one more time and then bump your way up to this golden pocket zone. So the golden pocket is being between the white and the red. And the reason why that happens on the 4-hour chart, after coming down this far, and if you scream up to the golden pocket, well, why do you think it's very, very common in that exact scenario that the 4-hour RSI will then come down real hard, way below the EMA? Why? What chart did we just look at? The daily. Because the daily is not ready to get its horses going, right? It's not in that golden pocket. It's still in the red zone. It has to wait on the daily. So the 4-hour is trying to essentially pull his friend up out of a hole. Like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And right now the friend is only about halfway there. So the 4-hour RSI isn't ready to go, running into the woods or whatever. He's still pulling out his friend out of a hole, essentially, right? And so it might look like the 4-hour RSI is ready to go, but his friend, the daily, is only halfway there. Let me get rid of these. His friend, the daily, he's only halfway there. You see that? All right. All right, let me go to the 1-hour chart. So let's see if we can get a little bit more clarity on what's going to happen. Actually, I'm kind of spoiling it because for my daily update for my community, I already put this box here, so I forgot to remove it. So you can already tell where I think price is going. And I gave that update a little bit ago before this candle started making it obvious. But so before this candle really started tanking, why did I put this box here? I saw a lower high on both the 1-hour RSI and a lower high on the 1-hour Stokes. So that gives me a very probabilistic scenario. When you see both a lower high on Stokes and RSI on the one, or really any chart, the 12, honestly, if it's the 12-hour chart, I would be putting on some massive shorts. I love that signal on the 12-hour chart. But typically that opportunity only presents itself once every 90 to 100 days. It's a big signal. And I think it happened, and it's a signal I missed like an idiot back in May 2021. The 12-hour RSI did the same thing there right before the drop to 29K. Very unfortunate that I missed that. I must have been distracted or something. I'm not for sure how I missed that move down. But anyway, therefore, I can tell that it's extremely probable that this is going to be hit first, but that's still not far enough down. So it could then bounce and keep floating sideways. And therefore, the daily RSI, let's see how many hours that would take to hit. If that were to happen, if it hits it fast and it bounces, $12 hours, that'd be 10 o'clock. Yeah, it would in 8, so in about 10 hours, that would be the end of the day. The day could end right here. And that would potentially give you that confirmed higher low, and that last juncture on the daily, as I showed you, this juncture right here would end. It would be close to having a positive slope. It would lock that in slightly positive slope, and then therefore you'd have essentially locked in a lower high to give you a slightly more potential that Bitcoin has permission to move up. But in the meantime, it looks like this box is going to be hit, and so. So what does all this mean? Everything what I said is a long version of what? I can't tell what the hell's going to happen past the hourly chart. I'm only getting hourly signals. I can't find an edge on the 4-hour chart. I can't find an edge on the daily. And what that means, so this is something that I would go over more within the Discord community. So I'm going to give you a little bit more information than what I typically provide on YouTube, but we're on a live show here. But so what that would mean is, remember, hopefully you watched my YouTube, or it might have been my Solana video. You might skip to the end of my Solana video where you see me up here like this, as if I were in the movie Pan's Labyrinth or whatever, right? With eyeballs here. But I was talking about you have to compartmentalize your brain and think completely different on different time frames. So in my brain, I have to accept that this block and this block, I don't know. I can't find an edge, but this block I do. And I have to understand, if I'm clicking around with my money trading, I have to understand those things so that I realize what my entries should be like, which would be less money, right? Because I don't have much of an edge beyond the 1-hour chart. I don't want to put on big trades. And also from a profit, so my risk management would probably stay the same. So there are three elements to trading, right? Entries, profit taking, and risk management. My risk management would probably stay the same, but my entries and profit taking, they would be different. My entries, I would enter lightly. I wouldn't take on huge positions, and the positions after the move starts going my way, I would take profits more quickly, more aggressively, because I can't tell. I can't see beyond, a few feet. It's like driving in the fog. You don't go as fast, right? Hopefully most of you have experienced fog. You can't drive fast in it when it's heavy fog. So that's a better analogy. And so when those three compartments, you only have the smallest one of three, that's literally like driving in the fog or heavy rain. You can't drive as fast, right? Okay. Yeah, that's actually not a bad analogy. I like that one. All right. Let me go to the top right. Therefore, it's not just bland to say, I don't know what's going to happen. It actually has consequences and very specific things that it should signal you, especially if you're clicking around with your money. It specifically means when you trade more lightly, and when you're in position, when you're in the trade, you take profits more quickly or more aggressively because you're driving slow and you just need to do that. And so it's not bad to say, I don't know what the hell is going to happen on the 4-hour daily chart. All I know is that this is going to be hit, and then I'll reassess once that happens. And let's go ahead and take a look at Nasdaq. And I try not to analyze this too much on YouTube. I try to save that for the other services I provide. But just take a look at this. Does this also look? Okay, here, let me take these things off. I'll keep on the weekly 10. There we go. In my origin lines. Oop, I didn't mean to get rid of that other rectangle. Shoot, I need that pink rectangle on there. Hold on. There we go, that one. All right, we have a couple of support areas and the weekly 10. So is price on so Bitcoin definitely is following Nasdaq as of now, right? And my overall hope is that Bitcoin finally separates itself from Nasdaq if the traditional market can go down longer than what Bitcoin wants to, and so because the Bitcoin halvening people start stepping in and Bitcoin launches while this is still going down. So hopefully traditional market folks freaking turn off their dang algorithmic trading that is equal, like they're trading this and Bitcoin at like in the same parameters. It's really strange. When they buy this or Apple or Amazon, they buy Bitcoin and it goes up if Amazon goes, and even though there's nothing in the charts for Bitcoin saying it's going to go up, Bitcoin would go up if Amazon, for example, Amazon had it went up 18% in 1 second at a daily closure from where was it? I can't even remember where it was. It was maybe in early April when they reported their earnings because they raised prices or something for Amazon Prime. And off-hours trading, it went up instantly 18%, and Bitcoin without any signal went up 5% in a 5-minute candle. It's ridiculous. So Bitcoin's following this, but anyway, I'm kind of hoping for separation if this can go down longer than what Bitcoin wants to go down. But anyway, Bitcoin's following this for now. So what can we see with these from the weekly 10? Price, it's bearish. So pressure is down. Price is very far separated from this. Even if the stock market rallies up to here and kisses its weekly 10 or even wicks above, it's still likely to continue going down, right? Until you get a couple weekly closures above there, and this weekly 10 gets a positive slope like that, something like this. So that's when you can start being slightly more bullish. But as of now, that slope is accelerating to the downside. So the pressure's down. We can safely assume that. On any time frame bigger than the daily and above, the pressure's down. Maybe the pressure's up on the 1 hour and 5 minutes, sure, but the bigger time frames that matter, the pressure's down. Now, with that assumption, what happened the last time that Nasdaq Composite here met a horizontal of importance, and so see how here, let me zoom in. You see how price it bounced on this, and then the next time it bounced slightly lower than the actual support. So from my recent Bitcoin videos, what do I say when that happens? If you find support lower than true support, and that's where you bounce under support and come back above the support, it's extremely likely to be a lower high, and then you're going to come back down. And the one way that you can get out of this mess before going down is if you miss the support, come up and make a higher low and try doing that. That's when you can work yourself out. It's not guaranteed that you're going to continue going down, but it does have an extreme likelihood. Once you miss the support, you will make a lower high. And then you're essentially on a watch. Will the next low be lower than this one, or will it establish a higher low? In this case, it is slightly more likely to continue making lower lows. So what did this just do? It missed a horizontal, and it bounced after a horizontal. However, it did bounce on an origin line. This origin line freaking nailed that, right? It nailed it. And we're kind of in limbo. It did find this support, but this horizontal, it missed it. And what's it doing? It's coming up, making a much lower high, because that's way up there. It's making a lower high. So from a daily standpoint, it has a chance to make a higher low and wiggle itself out. But at this time, I just can't tell. And this is an agreement with the idea that I can't tell what's going to happen on Bitcoin or the traditional markets right now. I don't feel that there's a lot of clarity, and things are, but this is very common. So when there's a very volatile move, right? Volatility is kind of like price. How volatile an asset goes, it also oscillates, just like price goes up and down and does all that stuff. So does volatility. So volatility just screamed up. And now volatility is wanting to work itself back down. That means price does less cool stuff. It just simmers down and it gets boring. And that's what's happening. At the culmination of the boring, it starts heating up again, but we're pretty far from that. It's going to take a while. So during this boring stuff, the only thing that I can see happening is more boring. So the edge right now is more sideways and a lot shorter moves. And that's the only edge I have. And with that edge, how would that translate? For example, for people who don't click around much with their money and they don't trade futures, I'm not recommending you go straight to futures with this next, because that's a good way to lose your money if you've never played with that before. But for people who click around on that kind of stuff and they want to make $100, their goal is $10 a day, $100 a day, or whatever, off a few trades. What does that idea? So the only edge we have is more boring and less volatility, and perhaps sideways down or sideways up or sideways, but just lack of volatility. That's the only edge we have. How does that translate into people who are clicking around with their money? It means you enter with less money in smaller positions and you take profits more quickly, and that's all it means. So unfortunately, that is my analysis for Bitcoin right now, and I can't. Until the volatility keeps smashing down a little bit. And actually, let's take a look at the volatility on an indicator. I think it's called BBWP here. Bollinger Band with percentile. I think that's the right one. Yeah, there we go. Let me look at the daily on... so let's look at both of them, actually. You can see that volatility is up really high. So what does it need to do? It needs to come back down. Just like when price goes up too fast, too quickly, or goes up too high too fast, it comes back down and gets boring, and then decides after it gets boring, which way am I going? And you can't quite tell until it breaks a range resolution, essentially, right? Sometimes you get a hint if price is floating up in what people call an ascending parallel channel. That's typically slightly bearish for Bitcoin. And if it floats down like this, if it floats down with low volatility, for Bitcoin, that's typically more bullish, as weird as that is. It's kind of the inverse of what you would think. But right now, Bitcoin is literally going straight ass sideways. You can't tell what the heck is going to happen. And you can see this on the volatility chart. Volatility's high, so the only edge you have is the volatility is going to go down. Stuff's going to get slightly more boring. The moves are going to be smaller for a little bit. Let's go to Bitcoin and see what this looks like. I mean, this really got maxed out. So this is the day. So when the daily maxes out that many, I don't think that's very common. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's yeah. So this could take a while. It could go sideways and pretty boring for over a month and a half if it's that red. It's going to take a while for it to simmer down. Let's zoom out and see how common that is. So 1, 2, 3, about 5 of them here. So how many days ago was that? Look, that was a year ago. You see that? This doesn't happen very often. So it's probably going to simmer down for a little bit. Is it guaranteed to? No. Just like stochastics or price, what it can do is this could make a higher low and do it all over again, and that could be like the end of capitulation in July. That could easily happen. It just screams back. It screams down to 22K, which is a pretty good target for a possible Bitcoin bottom, or it screams down to 16 to 17 to 18K or something like that. The one thing I don't think is going to happen for a bottom is exactly 20K, because I think I tweeted about that. I don't think anything within $500 of 20K is going to be a bottom, because the big boys and exchanges are within there. They're not going to want people like me and you to be able to long 20K. They're not going to let that happen. It's either going to come up shy of 20K, or it's going to go below 20K and wash out all the people trying to long around 20K. It's one of those is very, very likely going to happen. I would actually, I don't bet very often because I like to be the house yo, but I would, if somebody wants to bet me on that, the Bitcoin bottom is not close to 20K. I would probably take that bet because I think it's a very, very good bet. Therefore, it's not guaranteed it's going to be boring forever. It could do this one more time and then get boring for a long time. So all this down move, what that means is volatility drops and it drops and it drops and it drops until it turns around and gets above like a median line here. It's going to be boring this whole time until it gets back above a certain threshold point where things get exciting again. Does that make sense? But in the meantime, it could get boring and then heat up again and then get boring for a longer time. That's completely possible. I bet there's an example of that in the chart. Yeah, right here. Whatever this was, December. So late December, it did that. What did price do in late December? So things got boring, then it heated up one more time, and then things cooled off. And that's what that double dip was. But since pressure's down, so you see how price was above the weekly 10? Well, if something similar to happen, it would go in the opposite direction, because right now the slope of the weekly 10 is down and price is below it. So it would be essentially the inverse of this. It would slow down, then continue down as this continued up, because this has a positive slope and price is above it. Make sense? However, if that's just a guess, and I don't think there's a strong edge to make that assumption that far out. And that's what I got for Bitcoin. So I only spent about 28, 29 minutes on that, and we're going to go to live questions. Hopefully that was helpful for you, and how you should interpret what it means. So even though it's kind of more of a boring analysis, it's very important to understand. I don't have an edge beyond the 1 hour chart, therefore I should or shouldn't do this. Like, what does it mean for your finger on your mouse clicking around? What does it mean? And it really is an important meaning. So even though the analysis is boring, the implications of that, or how that translates, the translation of that, is really important. Hopefully that was helpful, and I'll start with the Q&A now. Okay, so I left my face big. If somebody asks a question, I'll try to remember to go back to small face as I look at charts. And thank you everybody for the heads ups. Hey, you left his face big. How long is it gonna take for him to notice? I appreciate that. Okay, I tried to look at community members who have the emblem next to themselves in their name, like Brokoshi, Noted the Narrow, and Jimbo Khan. I'm gonna look at their questions and or super chats first. So. Great Nasdaq video. Hey, thank you. Yeah, you watched my Nasdaq video. Perfect. Yeah, that's kind of an experiment for me. So as a content creator, I try to figure out, if I do something new, how is the algo going to respond to that, and how does that make an effect? And for example, my thumbnails recently have changed a little bit, and that the algo liked that. So I'm constantly doing small changes, and usually only try to change one. So it's very scientific. It's like it literally is the scientific method. I try to only change one variable at a time. So if I change a thumbnail, I try to keep the title similar to what my previous title was in my old thumbnail. I try not to do anything crazy different. So I try not to change a thumbnail on one day that's a pump, or like hopium, like we're going up, versus my last few videos were bearish. I wouldn't change my thumb, for example. So yeah, I just tried something a little different. And however, I thought with that Nasdaq video, Or I also had the thought that, you know what? Because there are so many no coiners out there, like if I can play my part in the crypto sphere to try to get more people to understand, like to try to get them to break through to crypto without describing crypto to them, if I can just like get them to realize, hey, there's a huge money making opportunity. It doesn't matter if they have hard feelings versus Bitcoin or crypto, because a lot of people think it's a Ponzi scheme because they don't understand it. But if they can be lured or invited, have a big welcome sign with the idea that, crap, this is compelling reason why there's a lot of money to be made regardless of my feelings. Kind of like me on Cardano. I don't think Cardano is a great long-term hold, long-term idea, but I like making money from the chart because it's very volatile and it's fun to play. I was trying to do that, essentially do my part within the crypto sphere to get more people into crypto, particularly inviting them to put on their calendars around Christmas of 2022. Anyway, but thank you for that. Jimbo Khan, what's up? All right, so RKS No Genius, was it going above the 10 EMA, then below and above again? I'm not for sure if I understand the question, but the weekly 10 is so far up here. I mean, it's $6,000 away. Like it's not going above the weekly 10 even on a daily wick anytime soon. This is going to take a while. So I don't really know if I understand the question. Let me put on the daily 10. Maybe that's what you were talking about. Well, I think my video on Friday, or actually, you can't see my chart. I said I wasn't going to forget. I think my video on Friday, when I made this triangle and I said, hey, one of the top two most probable things is price comes up to the triangle and gets rejected by it, which was, I don't know if I labeled that the first or second most probable, but in my Discord community, I did think it was the second. I thought it was going to come down here, test this, and then try a little higher first. Instead of hitting that triangle, but the second most probable did happen for me, and yeah, it just it got rejected by the daily 10 right at the triangle, as was my second most likely scenario. I'm not for sure if that was your question or not, though. All right, let me scroll down here. Profit Ha, haven't seen those in 12. Oh, Jimbo, I mean, dude, there is a lot of people prefer shorting. Do I suggest that to somebody who has never traded on futures? Absolutely not. I mean, you'd want to do it with guidance. You'd want to do it with very minimal money and or a test account. But there's so much money I mean, all you need to make money is a little volatility. That is it. And some clarity. So you need volatility with predictability. Those two things together equal profitability. So we've had both volatility to the downside, and it's been very predictable to the downside. Therefore, that's a big money-making opportunity, and a lot of the live traders in my community who help guide other people, because they have their own channel within my Costas Verdes Discord. I mean, they're doing really, really well right now. And I don't mean to exaggerate this to try to lure somebody into playing with futures who's never done it before. So it's not the wisest thing, because it's very easy to lose your money. And you can actually bet on losing money if you try to figure it out by yourself. It'll take losing it'll take getting washed out about at least 3 times if you try it yourself. But for me, it was 6. And each of those 6 times I made it go up before I then lost it all. But it's almost to the point where, as a content creator, like I've seriously questioned. And this is going to be a total change in tune here, but it's, I see how well they're doing and how predictable with volatility things are in the chart, and I don't have time to put on a lot of trades in a day. I've seriously questioned, man, maybe like I should only do like a 1 YouTube video or 2 videos a week and just focus on trading for myself. I don't think I would say I've almost made that choice to do that, but it's crossed my mind a lot. So there's a ton of money to be made to the downside. A lot of money. They're doing very, very well right now. Predictability plus volatility is all you need. And so that kind of goes back to my analysis that this shit's boring. Price is reducing volatility and it's reducing predictability. Therefore, there's not much profitability to be made. Does that make sense? And if there's not much profitability to be made, then you don't trade as heavy. Does that make sense? because you're not going to, even if you make right guesses, it's just going to be choppy, and you got to get in and out of your positions anyway. So, all right, let's keep rocking and rolling here. Let me make my face small. All right, Ivan DC8. If Bitcoin hits 22K, which is I would begin DCAing lightly. So, okay, but 22K really is a good target. And I think I've put on Twitter why that is the case. Let me go like this. So, yeah, you see this channel here? If it keeps just dropping down and maybe drops at the end below it, and it wicks, so typically it would wick below an origin line, but close the week up here like this. So if something like that were to happen, maybe not that far of a wick, something like this. Here, let me do this. I can control it a little better. Bam, and then that's it. Something like that. And it's a wick below this origin line here, which is one down from where coronavirus went. So let's zoom out. Let me get rid of the weekly 10. The coronavirus dump went to here. This actually, no, it is the same line. It's the same line. So it'd be the same. So see that small wick below? So what I can do here is like this. How far did it wick below? I'll control alt like that, something to that effect, and then go here, and I'll make it a different color, like red or something. Yep, so that's about right. And where is that? That's right at 22K, 21.7. 22K is really, it might be my third favorite, but it might even be my second favorite as a guess. So first off, as a preface of answering your question, I think that's a good guess. The reason why I say I would, but that's a very good question. Would I start DCAing into alts at that point? I would begin DCAing, but very lightly. So, for example, if I had saved 10K and I have $10,000 of Tether or stablecoin or US dollars or whatever, right? And I'm just waiting to buy the bottom of a bear market. And my plan is not just to buy Bitcoin. I want to start getting into alts because I want those cheap alts, right? Because, in 2024, I think they're going to 30x, 50x or whatever. Just remember that when Bitcoin bottoms, altcoins aren't bottomed yet, for the most part. And I'm not considering Ethereum an altcoin. Ethereum is Ethereum. Everything besides Bitcoin and altcoin, Bitcoin and Ethereum are altcoins, in my opinion. That could be an incorrect opinion. I don't really have much of a rationale behind it, so I can't justify my opinion there. So it's a very loose opinion, willing to change. But anyway, they typically bottom after Bitcoin bottoms. That's why I would say I would start lightly. And the way I would do that, this is more information I should give on YouTube. In my plan to do that, DCA lightly, I would keep in mind that I might be sleeping during the capitulatory event when stuff is hit on a wick. And because it's probably going to go lower anyway, I only want to buy during a down move, as opposed to what's happened in the charts now is a little like a corrective bounce up. I wouldn't want to DCA during a corrective bounce up. So if I'm trying to catch a wick, it's got to be low because altcoins are probably go lower anyway after Bitcoin bottoms. And it could happen while I'm sleeping. The way I would do that is I would have my limit buys down lower on my altcoins, but I wouldn't use all my $10,000 to put in limit buys for those targets, right? I would probably take 2,500, like a quarter of that, or maybe a third, maybe, $333 at like a 33% of my 10, or no, 3,333, quadruple 3. I might use a third of it to buy there. And what I could do with that third is if Bitcoin bottoms and then altcoins go on a run before then bottoming out, I could sell into that rally. Therefore, now I have more than $10,000 of Tether, and then I could buy the ultimate bottom. But I wouldn't do that with my whole shebang. So that's how. So I would mix two thoughts with that to give you a final answer to that very good question. I would first make sure I wouldn't DCA fully into it. I wouldn't pull the trigger completely. I would do a percentage like 25, 33, maybe half. I don't know, but probably less than half. And second, I would accept the fact that any big move to the downside, I might be sleeping. Therefore, I need a strong guess of where my favorite altcoins, what I want to buy, where they're going to go. I need my limit buys in there now because I want them there. I want to make an educated guess, and it'll like this dump might really happen like at 3 a.m. when you're sleeping, and then it's on a wick, and if your orders aren't down, they're not going to get filled, and then Bitcoin goes up like $6,000 by the time you're awake, and your altcoins have gone up 50%. So those would be the two thoughts I mixed together to answer your question. That's a really good question. It's a very important question. Let's see here. Actually, who am I missing? Okay. Argers. Hey Tim, has your position changed on 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐸? I don't know. All right. So somebody's asking if I've changed my position on 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐸 since my last video. Honestly, I don't know, because I'm not interested in 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐸. That's a big bounce. Now that is a bounce. That's pretty aggressive, actually. But I don't know if my idea has changed behind it. Well, this is the weekly 10 up here. So it just came. So this, is there one with more price history? Yeah, there we go. That's better. I'm on the daily chart, but this is the weekly 10. Do I have a 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐸𝐸 chart saved somewhere? Hold on. I could have sworn I used... Did they... There we go. All right, there's my chart. Huh. Crazy. Crazy. Hit the bottom of that box perfectly. I didn't know that's what happened. But remember, when I draw boxes, and it's hard to believe... They get hit. I actually didn't know that happened until I just saw that. So I'm experiencing this in not shock, because it's probable that was good. That's just how crypto works. It goes, if you look here, look. If you look left, that's how, like, the guesses are so easy. Watch, you look left. You look for structure. That's typically where things go. It's that simple. Like, you can do fibs and all that shit all you want, but it's just fibs aligning with structure. I'm telling you. That's just how it works. If fibs don't align with structure, then the fibs aren't going to work. And that's why I like these levels more. Now, I'm not going to diss fibs very much, because fibs do work, but they're going to work a lot less if they don't align perfectly with structure. A lot of times they do, and you get extra confirmation. All right, so your question is, has my thought process changed on 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐸? Well, I mean, my targets of $1, weren't my targets from that video? Is $1.30, so it already hit. I mean... Yeah, I think my thoughts have changed since altcoins typically bottom after Bitcoin. My thoughts might change that this might be a lot more likely to hit now. So under $1. So I think maybe you were looking for me to say, yes, my thoughts have changed, but in the opposite way, like it's going to recover. I don't think, yes, my thoughts have changed, but not in the way that I would assume that you were anticipating. I bet it's more likely that this is hit in the end in 2022. Now, will it happen in the next week? No. But in 2022, I would still say that this has a stronger chance now to be hit, given that this target was hit so fast. This has a way to go. Now, is it possible that 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐸 is what you might call a first mover, and it does bottom with Bitcoin? Some coins do that, very few, and even fewer will move up during a bear market, kind of like Chainlink did. Essentially in 2019, 2020, or whatever. There are only one or two or three at most that are going to do that. But there are also few that bottom with Bitcoin. Ethereum, being one coin, but very few altcoins do. It has a chance to do that, but it's not a safe bet. Therefore, given that target was hit so quickly, yeah, I would say this box has a slightly stronger chance to be hit now. And what do you see here? The weekly 10, price is under it, and it's got a negative slope, and it appears to be accelerating to the downside. So once this, it might hang out here and wait for the weekly 10, but it's probably going to get there. Look, I'll draw this out. It might get a neutral slope like that, and then head down and go like this, something to that effect. So it might hang out for a little bit, wick above, maybe even do a fake out, try to like get above, and then fail it, and then boom, 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 and then go right back up and then recover. Something like that. And that would be something like Bitcoin's higher low in July. Bitcoin's higher low versus the lower low on alts. And if you want an example of that, even though I'm going to switch to Cardano here, this is not Cardano analysis. I'm going to look at Cardano for a KDA analysis. Something that you might have seen me do already is Cardano. Bitcoin bottomed in about December to January of 2018, 2019. So let's mark that there. That was Bitcoin's bottom right here. Bitcoin's higher low happened about a year later. It was coronavirus dump. However, I already had, before coronavirus was a word used in America, I already had my limit orders at $5,000. Like I literally scraped up money out of places and had those orders there because higher lows simply happen. You know, it's just coronavirus was the stimulus for it to happen. And Ethereum made a lower low, or not Ethereum, but Cardano made a lower low when Bitcoin finally had its higher low, essentially retesting its bottom. See that? It's not just because of Black Swan. It was going to happen anyway. It was going to happen. It was going to make a lower low, most likely. And there you go. That was, and how many days after the Bitcoin's bottom was that? That was 481 days, well over a year. So I would, and it could be 2023 when it hits that, but I would still guess 2022. I was going to go to KDA. Let's see here. Was it this chart? No. Darn it. KuCoin. Yes. All right. Might as well just save this damn chart. There we go. Move this bad boy up. But anyway, that would be a rough guess of what I think KDA has a good chance of doing. However, I would be willing to reconfigure my analysis should KDA be able to do something spectacular. So the conditions in which I would change that guess is if KDA can close 2 weekly candles above its weekly 10 before it breaks below this box. So if it can close above there sometime in the near future before breaking below here, I would then change my guess. That would be the conditions for me to not flip-flop, but I would justifiably change my analysis. And since I'm on KDA, let's do some short-term time frame stuff. It's probably going to be wishy-washy just like Bitcoin, since we've already established Bitcoin's wishy-washy. Yeah, I think it could float. So this is the weekly 10, and it is getting kind of close. So it looks like it's going to want to interact with its weekly 10. Let me make that red. It looks like it's going to want to do this, and it might actually get above it. I guess a worse picture could have popped up. I need to turn off those damn alerts. Yeah, it looks like it's going to head over here. So when KDA is wicking above, like on 4-hour candles above its weekly 10, whenever that happens, that would be your warning sign that it's likely getting close to wanting to head back down, at least at this point, to $2.05 to test the top of this horizontal. That would be my guess as of now on the short-term time frame, and that would be going up to, it could go up to $3.70. This is a very strong move, and even if it wiggles sideways, I could see it popping out one more high close to 370, 380, something like that, $3.80, and then I would expect it to come back down to $2 to at least or lower, so to $2.05 or lower. After it gets above this weekly 10. So again, I'm on the 4-hour chart, but this is the weekly 10 EMA because I'm using that MTF EMA indicator over here, so I can see different EMAs on different time frames. And so that's the long-term and shortish midterm for KDA. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, what else do we got? Jay, welcome to the Cryptillion YouTube tier. Nice to have you. Make sure you're looking at the updates that I give. It's usually once or twice a day. Even over the weekends, sometimes I'll miss a Sunday, but you'll typically get about 14 alerts, 10 to 14 a week. All right. Jimbo John asks another question. Jimbo John, a tier member. I only have access to KuCoin three times, but I've never taken the leap. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if futures is not one of your things that is, you have over 50 to 100 small trades, so using like $100 or less, right? You wanna get, if you ever to make that journey, first thing is like joining a community with guidance, would be the best thing. However, if you're more of a self-taught learner like I was, I didn't join any communities. It's kind of hypocritical, but I actually didn't know they existed. I accidentally became a YouTuber, and my viewer said, "You need to make a Patreon, and you need to do this and that." And I didn't know anything about it. But anyway, the second, if you were to consider it, you start off light, and you want to have very minimal money in your futures account, and you want to get 50 trades under your belt with very small amounts of money. And the reason why I suggest that to people, as opposed to, a lot of people say test account, and that's fine too. But I would recommend, and I swear this is more helpful, because trading is emotional. So if you're on a trading account in paper, there are no emotions, because it's not real. I'm convinced this is right. And I've had, with one of my team leaders, live trading leaders, he totally disagrees with me, and that's fine. And I've had long conversations, on live chats with him, and he vehemently disagrees, and he could be right. But my idea behind this is, if you're ever to make that leap and you didn't use guidance, you're a self-taught person, just make sure, you don't put much money in your futures account, and you try to get 50 trades under your belt first. See how that goes. How many times did you have to replenish $50 or $100 in the futures and that 50 times? And then if you did relatively well in the last 10 or 15 trades, then maybe bump it up to like 250 and get another 50 trades under your belt. And you can get in 2 to 3 trades a day. So it doesn't take that much time. And then slowly keep tearing yourself up every 50 trades, like your unit, your measuring stick, your unit, your foot, or your inch, or whatever, or centimeter, or meter, like your unit of measurement is 50 trades. And you can't do anything different to your futures in terms of funding it until that meter stick, or that yardstick, or that ruler of that unit of measurement is hit at 50 trades. Or the third thing that I could say to that is, if you don't make that leap, sitting on, so I'm going to put SOT. So tethered also means stable positions. It could be US dollars. I'm not really, I'm not forcefully suggesting you hold tether specifically. It could be, DAO, MakerDAO, or not Maker, one of the other stable coins, or Circle, USDC, or USD, or whatever. But sitting on tether is very profitable right now. Are you increasing your account doing this? No, not in the immediate term, but technically you are. Sitting on tether right now is profitable. You just aren't seeing the profits yet. Because if you're sitting on tether during a bear market and you're waiting to pull the trigger as things like go down and scoop sideways, and you're trying to buy between here and here during this year-long period, and you're sitting on tether, and we're about here, let's say we're here now, you're sitting on tether, that is profitable because you're waiting for this, right? So sitting on tether really is pretty profitable. You're just not seeing the profits now. So you might have said, hey, profits, that's something I haven't seen in a while. Well, technically, you're simply acquiring future profits. You just can't see them yet. They are there, but you can't see them. And you will see. So if you're sitting on tether, that's a very profitable thing. So I thought I would offer those 3 ideas for you. But sitting on, if you're, for example, somebody's a nurse or a plumber, or what other frontline jobs are there that's just so understaffed, the supply of labor is so low. But you're probably working, if somebody's working long hours, I would go for number 3, sitting on tether, because you don't have time to start picking up another skill set, getting in 50 trades in a month period or a 2-week period. Like, you just don't have time to commit. Therefore, sitting on tether is your best option. So the option 1 and 2 is definitely not for everybody. You would probably have to commit 90 minutes a day to literally being on a chart and doing stuff. That's probably, now is it 7 days a week? No, but it would probably be 4-ish days a week would be the threshold of 90 minutes. 4 days a week would probably be what you would expect for a time commitment. All right, let's rock and roll. Good. I'm getting different types of questions today. I'm not getting a bunch of altcoins questions, which are fine too. So JPN, so I'm not going to attempt your name. Wow. That is a long name for my eyes. But JPN, Jagged Deason, I'll just call you JPN from now forward. Can you check out Rune? All right, let's do Rune. Let's check out Rune. I don't think this is something I have looked at this before. I have stuff on my chart. All right. the context of my analysis here is I don't really look at this chart much, so you're going to see me. The cool thing about this is even though I'm not going to jump straight to knowing exactly what I'm going to say, you're going to watch me piece this together, and that is valuable in and of itself. So you're going to see where I start. I typically like to start on the weekly. And I like to know, wow, no way. Huh. So this also went up during bearish market. Why do I not know about this project? That might be the biggest run in all of crypto. Maybe besides Hex. That might even be bigger than Hex. That's pretty damn impressive. Wow. Holy cow. 209,000%. Yikes. Wow. Okay, anyway. Holy shit. So start on the weekly. How big was the run so I can get kind of a base point. And then I'm going to start putting horizontals on here and piecing this together. Even though there's not much structure here. So this is probably where fibs worked. If you did a fib retracement, that might be what's happening here. So fibs, I kind of shit on fibs earlier, but they can work, especially if you just have a massive run up. Where does it have to stop? So you have this. Okay, now that I have some horizontals, I want to measure down from peak top. Most altcoins are going to lose 95% of their value. And what does that align with? Again, TA is not astrology for men. Like, shit aligns. You can get probabilities. So I would guess by 2022, it's going to hit right at $1. And that could be a bottom for it, because that's a psychological number. That's an intensely psychological number. And it's perfectly 95% down. However, there is a chance, though, because this coin was so, like, this... Wow. I don't know about this coin. This is something else, but it's possible. So this would be a good candidate for one that doesn't go down 95%, but rather only 90, and it just, and because there's nothing between these lines supporting it, what that would mean is it wants to hold this, and when Bitcoin finally has its last blow or makes its higher low, it only wicks below, then immediately jumps right back up. Does that make sense? So it could be somewhere in this space where you can catch wicks, but it is a candidate for it could, it could want to hold this and then wick down and come right back up. And the best buy you could get is like $1.66. That is possible. However, I would still guess fairly confident, moderately confidently that it's going to get closer to $1 over time. Let me put on the weekly 10 here. Yeah, you're having a lot of lower highs here. So, and this is a descending triangle. It could break up. So, if it were to hold this, what I could see if it were a candidate to not go down to $1, it would actually be pretty similar. It would wick down, come right back up, and essentially maintain this triangle and then recover. That is possible, and that would be somewhere around $1.70, $1.66. But it's probably going to get one wick below this bare minimum or hit that down there. But if it does, it'd probably want to snap right back up and hold that triangle. So this is more of a long-term analysis over 2022 so far. Short-term. Okay, this is a perfect example of how you can work yourself out of a hole when you find support below the true support. So this was high, lower high. Because it found support below this, it's extremely likely that the next high will be lower than the previous high, which is obvious because this is up so high, so that happened. But the way to work yourself out after you lose support, so it lost the support here, right? The way you can work yourself out is by making higher lows, and it did. So I think this has a chance to come retest, a strong chance of coming to retest the 10. Is it guaranteed? No, but it is it is behaving like a boxer who got, like let's say one boxer is favored, and that favored boxer got, a wild right hand, took a wild right hand and he fell down or whatever, but he stands back up and starts winning the fight. That's kind of what this is here. Losing, so especially, particularly on this horizontal, it found support below the true support and then worked its way out of that hole by making higher lows. So it looks like it might want to over time pop up to, in the short term, to test the weekly 10 again. Something like this. And then price might want to keep its higher low structure and work its way up, wick above, and then come back down and retest this. Let me make that pink. Oh, pink's not good against red, is it? Let's do green. There we go. That's better. I could see it. Yeah, that'd be a big move up. I mean, it could easily happen. It's doing the work it needs to do that. That'd be a 50, 60% move up. I could see that happening. Yeah, I think it's going to come test the weekly 10 and come back down here would be my guess in the midterm. The very short-term time frames, since Bitcoin and traditional markets are wishy-washy, I don't think there's much of an edge either way. But because this horizontal is so strong, I think even if Bitcoin wants to test down and hit my box that I had, this is going to stay above here. And then when Bitcoin keeps going sideways, Bitcoin doesn't need to go up for this to test its weekly 10. Bitcoin just needs to not go too far down. It could go sideways and float. And Rune could come up and still test $5.20 or whatever if Bitcoin goes sideways. So that would be my guesses right now. But again, volatility is really reducing right now, so there's not much to do. But those would be my price path guesses for short / midterm and long term for Rune. Yeah, that's a really cool chart. Surprised that's not more talked about on YouTube and stuff. That chart, I mean, geez, 200,000% run. And it went up during Bitcoin's essentially in the depths of the bear market. That I didn't know the Rune did that. I thought it was only Chainlink. So, but then again, earlier I did say like 2 or 3 might do it. So I guess Rune was the second one. It's good to know. I should have known that as a crypto YouTuber. I should be aware of that project. So kind of shame on me as well. Somebody wants me to look at Algorand. Let's take a look at Algorand here. I'm on the weekly chart with the weekly 10 on. It's looking pretty bad. Let me go to the daily and keep the weekly 10 on. So what I can see here is it lost this horizontal. It lost that. So that wick low to this wick high, it lost this. Ugh. Whew. It's going to hit another one. It's going to hit in 2022. It's going to go down farther. It might target that wick. The bottom might be that wick at 22 cents. I think over 2022, I think it's most likely at 22 cents. But still, I haven't measured down. So does that, man? This is a stray wick. I'm not gonna measure from this or this. I'm gonna measure from a norm. This is a stray wick. Like somebody clearly with more money than what they should be dealing with because they obviously didn't know what limit buys are. They hit market buy and really moved this. Or that was a Discord group trying to they thought they saw a pump and like a bunch of people. Something happened there. It's either a Discord group all playing the same thing, which happens. And again, I accidentally did the same stuff during altcoin season because I dealt with smaller caps. And if I talked about a coin, then it would just go up. Like, I was like, man, I got to stop. That's why I stopped. Why do you think I stopped talking about so many altcoins? Because this shit happens. It's real. So it's either one person accidentally hit market buy with too much money because he or she didn't know what he or she was doing, or as a group. But anyway, I'm going to measure from that point down and see what percentages we start aligning with. So that's only 80%. That's 90. Yeah, so that's probably going to be hit. Yep, it's probably going to hit 22 cents over 2022. And in the more midterm time frame, let me go to the 4-hour chart and zoom in here. Look what's happening. So just observe this. Let me get rid of I don't need the EMA anymore. Look, it's in a trading channel. It's been in there for quite some time. I mean, hell, it's been in there since November. So it's still in the trading channel. It's getting rejected. It's getting rejected. It might be easier to. It's not rejection yet, but it's going into the point of control as Bitcoin's getting wishy-washy. And it looks like it could easily get rejected and come back down and try to make a higher low here and maybe work its way back up. However, if I put these horizontals back on, what did it do? This is what I've talked about twice already for other coins during this live show. What did it do? It bounced below a true support, a weekly horizontal or a horizontal support. And it's coming up. It is making higher lows, so it could work its way out of it. However, this is being used as resistance. Previous support, now that it's broken, is likely going to be resistance. So I would say if it gets above, it could fail it and come right back down and continue its march down to 22 cents over 2022. That's not good. That's not good to go that far below support. So the horizontal support. Of course, it met the channel support. It on a closing basis, it did okay. So it held that as support. But from a horizontal perspective, it's now previous support is acting as resistance. So I would say it doesn't have a good chance to work its way too far up and out of here. And if it does, I would guess it's going to fail the line on the way back down. So this would be my guess. If it goes above here, once it comes back down to retest it, I think it'll fail it. I think it'll go through it like that. And then over 2022, this box on many types of analyses, it's extremely likely to be hit from a structural analysis and from just a measurement stand using this tool here. It's extremely likely for 22 cents to be hit, and that's what we got for Algorand on the short/midterm timeframes, and then over the months through 2022 targets. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. Okay, Ivan DC8. Damn, Ivan. Well, I don't know what A is, what currency you're shooting over, but I'll probably have to. You might want to respond to one, Ivan. You might want to respond to one of my Twitter posts. Say, hey, I'm Ivan from YouTube live show. I gave you super chats, and then I can DM you, and I can probably hook you up with a free month in the Discord since you shot out over a couple super chats. So if you do that on Twitter, I'll DM you so we can exchange info or whatever. So Ivan in the super chat asks, what are the chances we don't go any lower than this and we bounce back to 70K? Okay, that's actually a good question. It could happen. Bitcoin. So that's a big question. All right, the first thing I would say to that is watch my Nasdaq video that I published. I made it yesterday, but I scheduled it to post at 8 or 10 a.m. New York time today or something like that. But you might want to watch that. That will help answer. That would be the first part of my answer. And just the short version of that is, let me go to the 2-day chart. Let me get rid of this, zoom out. Hopefully, by this point, you can accept that Bitcoin's moving with traditional market, especially the risk-on assets of Nasdaq, right? It's moving with Nasdaq. Sometimes it's moving a little bit better with SPX, S&P 500 index, but it's moving with Nasdaq. So Nasdaq, anytime that it goes over this blue line, which is the median. So on a bell curve or whatever, it's the top of the the median, right here. This is the middle point. So anytime you get too far away from the median, whether it's up or down, if you go too far up, you're going to snap back to that median line. It's almost like stretching a rubber band. So the median of a rubber band is its relaxed state. You're just holding it like this and it's dangling, right? That's essentially oh shit, it's 11:40. I passed my time. Oh, there's my, okay. It's gym time. I'm being forced to quit, but I'll answer this question. So it's like a rubber band, the median line. It's in its relaxed state. Regardless of going above it or below it, that's like stretching the rubber band. What does it do when you let go? It goes back to its relaxed state, but it snaps back, right? So what did it recently do? It went way far above it, and it's going to snap back to that relaxed state And when it snaps back from having gone too far above, it's going to overshoot it and probably hit that line. Therefore, I would say the likelihood of Bitcoin doing that is extremely unlikely because it's following this, and it's extremely unlikely that this doesn't snap back to there. It's extremely unlikely that this is going to make all-time highs before at least hitting that line, but it's probably going to hit that line first. So that would be my preface to the question. However, what if? What if? Okay, like there's some adoption thing and Bitcoin separates from Nasdaq earlier. Okay, that's possible. What are the chances? So your question is, what are the chances? I would say the chances are really, really low. How would I answer this question? The origin lines aren't helping me. I think my macro channel might be more helpful. The fastest it could really feasibly get there, I mean, it's probably September, October. What are the chances of that? Actually, let's take a fractal like this. That would probably be, yeah, late September. What are the chances of that happening? I mean, I think it's pretty low. You would have to have, and then that was your question. What are the chances? We don't go any lower. So the chances are going to be tied to the chance of some event happening that separates Bitcoin from the stock market, because the chances are extremely low. Like it's a very low chance, like it's negligible, that the stock market just turns right back around and makes all-time highs, which would be a requirement if Bitcoin's tied to it to go up to 70K. So with the assumption, that's a safe assumption, that's not going to happen anytime soon. The chances would be relative to what are the chances of some event happening, fundamental event, adoption-related event in Bitcoin or crypto that is good news, like the ETF of spot trades coming out. That could do it. Yeah, that might be the most likely chance. So the chance of that happening are probably as great as a chance of an ETF for spot trade coming out soon. So whatever chances you think of that are of happening, I would say that would be your answer. Or maybe add on slightly to that chance, the chance of something else that stimulates a big move up, and Bitcoin separates from Nasdaq. I would say it's in the single digits. I don't think it would surpass 10% chance, but I think the chance is there, and I would say I would give it somewhere around 4 to 7% chance of that happening. Very, very low chances, and I think that was your question. All right. So algo, Arc's no genius, something fundamentally with algo, yeah, but and then I got to go after this, but actually OTA, okay, shit, all right, OTA, I'll get your question, but typically fundamental, and we're partnering with this and that stuff doesn't fly in bear markets. Arc's no genius. I mean, I wouldn't bet. So typically news only stimulates upward price in bull markets. So just from experience, I'm saying that. And then OTA asks, and then I got to go, how low can Magic go? Well, it can go 98% below its, I mean, it's high, is what I would say. Magic. Actually, that looks like a full chart, doesn't it? Yeah, so this was the beginning. There we go. 10 cents, 10 to 11 cents, easily. It's only 98%. Yeah, 11 cents right there. Over 2022, though, so I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably target it somewhere over there. Yep, it could just stay in this trading channel like this. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, bam. Widen that. Boom. See how it hits that line perfectly? Just stays in a descending trading. Here, let me make the opacity a little less. Something like that. Yeah, 10, 11 cents would be my guess on that. Does it have to go down that low? No, but you're saying how low, of course it can do something like Luna and go even lower, but within reason of like what's likely or not. That's kind of adjusting your question slightly, not how low can it go, because it can go to 0.0000001 like Luna. It could happen, but within reason, if I could change your question a little bit, how low can it go within reason? I would say around 11 cents would be my guess on that. All right. Sorry, I skipped. Man, OT, I just, for some reason, my eyes love skipping over your darn name and skipping your questions. I'm sorry. I actually scanned up to make sure I didn't miss one of your questions, and then I saw it. So sorry about that. Anyway, I got to go, everybody. And we'll see you on Thursday at the same time, same place, and we'll see you